Hello class, Tulio. So week 7, talking about the PATRIOT Act. What a week to talk about the PATRIOT Act, with what's going on in Boston. And currently they're tracking down the last guy, the last suspect of this Boston massacre. Um, I'll get right into my forum. So, how do you rate this act on the trade-off between security and civil rights? If I was to rate this act from 1 to 10, I would probably rate it up at a 8 or 9. I think it's a very effective act. I don't think it violates civil rights that are of big concern. I know it is some concern for some elite groups, some interest groups, like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Electronic Privacy Info. There's other groups out there. A lot of liberal Americans think that some of their civil liberties are breached because of this act. It's been fought in court, but I believe this act is still around because it's been able to produce the effectiveness of it, even though some civil rights may be questioned. A lot of people criticize it because the detention of immigrants, able to hold immigrants for an unlimited time. Others criticize it because of the privacy, able to search homes without warrants. It's also been criticized for getting into electronic records like telephone, emails, financial records, court orders, basically whatever the law enforcement agency needs to get into to identify or find terrorist individuals. So I would rate it from about an 8 or a 9 on 10. Has this act been effective, efficient, equal, and ethical? I believe so. I believe it's very efficient. I've heard some of the other forums and some of the other students that brought up some examples how effective it's been. I think it's been effective. Some of the areas I'll mention is, for example, it regulates the financial transactions of terrorist groups or individuals. That's very effective. It also changed the criminals within the U.S., naming them as domestic terrorists. It's also very effective in roving wiretaps, effective in searching records, trying to identify those lone wolves, individuals that are acting on their own without being part of a terrorist groups, just for the act of it. So why was it activated, this PATRIOT Act? Well, I believe it was to identify individuals that could be potential terrorist threats within the U.S. So it serves that purpose there. Speed. It's able to allow the law enforcement to quickly discover suspects and track them down. For example, with the roving wiretaps and access to documents, and the sneak and peek attack, going in and tapping into their information and just keep track of them. Some of the cons on that, and I mentioned earlier, is a lot of people just saying that it violates their privacy protection, and it also allows the government to do things that are outside the realm where it could be abused, especially with the electronic surveillance parts. There have been some occasions where individuals have been tapped, tracked, electronically, and they were not part of a terrorist group. But there have been a lot of occasions where individuals have been tracked and have been found to have motivation to conduct terrorist acts. I'll mention some of the titles. Title I, Enhanced Domestic Security Against Terrorism. I think is very effective on that. Surveillance Procedures, very effective. That's Title II. And I mentioned two of the interest groups that don't believe Title II Surveillance Procedures is it violates their I guess their civil rights, and those are the Electronic Privacy Information Center and the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They just believe the FBI has too much power in their hands. Title III, Anti-Money Laundering to Prevent Terrorism. I think that one is very effective. That's one that I think it has transcended across overseas, like Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and other international terrorist groups, because now the U.S. along with other international communities, they're able to stop their money, freeze their money, and take their money. So that one falls under the International Money Laundering Abatement and Financial Anti-Terrorism Act of 2001. It's all wrapped up in that title. So I think that one is very important because that's how terrorist groups get financed, through those transactions. Title 5, Removing Obstacle to Investigating Terrorism. I think that was one of the problems that was identified during the terrorist attack of September 11. A lot of the agencies were not communicating with each other. They were not sharing information. So removing some of those obstacles as far as sharing information and digging into certain records, certain transactions, financial transactions, all that's been removed. So access to information to find terrorists is good. And then we have Title 8, Terrorist Criminal Law. What it's done is identify guys within the U.S., individuals that may be thinking about committing terrorist act. Now we are going to call those guys domestic terrorists. So there's a lot of laws, provisions that apply to them, like kidnapping, assassination, mass destruction. So those guys can be closer along with terrorists as domestic terrorism. And we have Title 9, Improved Intelligence. And I think that's another area that's big. Roving wiretaps, searching business records, conducting surveillance, and then they have the National Security Act of 1994 allowing the DCI, Central Intelligence Office, to gather information from foreign agencies and share it with the Attorney General, and then they all share within all the government agencies and international agencies without the restrictions that they had before. So it clears all that up. So the improved intelligence allows all the PATRIOT Act to be very effective. What is the future of this policy? I believe the future is very strong. When it came out 2001, there has been about 3 revisions, reauthorizations. The recent one being Obama doing the auto pen, extending some of the clauses, and some of them actually becoming permanent. I know originally when this PATRIOT Act was produced and signed, it had the sunset clause, saying that after 4 years some of the provisions were to expire or be terminated unless the president needed those provisions to stay permanent or be extended, which has happened. 2005 with the Terrorism Prevention Reauthorization Act of 2005, and then again in 2006, and just recently Obama extended that. So some of the issues that we've had with the ethical civil rights violations, not quite violations, but some of the groups are saying that these violations have been brought to court, but it has not been proven yet. So I think the future of this policy is very strong. It's going to take some changes here and there, but it'll still be around. It's very effective. Well, that's all I got for week 7. Waiting for your feedback. Thank you, and I am out.